The Fantastic Four was a comic book series I grew up with because it was a comic book series that my dad grew up with and read since 1961. So I grew up in a Fantastic Four household. We actually exist, but clearly not enough, as it seems that nobody can get it right. This month, we're going to try to get to the bottom of why it seems no one can get it right. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's also known for overacting with his hands, Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet.
Colossus is here!
And after Taco Night, they call him Dr. Doom. Bruce Leslie.
Abel was I, or I saw Elba.
I always hated stuff like that. Stuff like that. Plus, also, whenever they do the Jeopardy thing where you got to do the rhyme time or anything like that, there's little rhymey time things like that. I'm just like, no, thank you. None of that. Get the rhyming crap out of my life. No, thanks. Don't want it.
Potpourri, get that out of here.
Yeah, at least potpourri's just like different questions and stuff. Like when they're just like, it needs to go like flubba-da-dubba-da. And I'm like, no, just no with that. You people that can do that kind of crap in your mind, you're weirdos.
A well-dressed hip-hop performer. What is a dapper rapper? You're talking about that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just
I
little
love that
things
stuff.
like that. You would.
That is so your lane, though. I mean,
hey,
so
I came up with dapper rapper off the top of my head. That wasn't like
no. I'm sure you're impressed with that. I'm sure you are.
Ken Jennings is like going like, "What's the email to this podcast? I gotta go fast."
Hey, I think me and Ken Jennings would get along well. I really do. If you're listening,
I think Ken Jennings would kick you out of that lunch in 20 minutes.
I only need 10 minutes to throw down a couple of burritos, so that's good.
It's just a speed eating competition and everything. Well, welcome back to HMP, Dirty Babies. We hope you are in a fantastic mood this month because we might be here to ruin it. This month, the folks over at Marvel have yet another Fantastic Four movie in the works. It's headed on to theaters later this month, so we figured that since we're going to see the latest thing, let's see where we've been and everything. So we're going back to 1994 with the Roger Corman-produced Fantastic Four movie. When was the first time you guys even heard about this movie?
I saw this movie on VHS when it was like hot off the presses, and I guess we can get into it. I still have no idea how. I have this memory, but it might be a false memory of actually renting it from a mom and pop video store. But my dad also had this weird collection of like VHS tapes that people would make and give to him. Like we had the original Jesco White Dancing Outlaw thing from the BBC before he was kind of a household name. And this might have been one of those like rare collector things that he kept on just like a regular old VHS with like the white label and ballpoint pen with the title on it. But I really feel like I rented this in the summer and watched it when I had nothing else to do. I
bought it from a guy that did nothing but sell illegal movies at Heroes Con many years ago, and it was awesome. It's where I first saw the Star Wars Holiday Special from doing that. There's a couple other things, but the two that I remember most are the Fantastic Four, Corman Fantastic Four. And it was on DVD, but it seemed like it was a VHS transfer. So it was really hard to hear the sound to it. And sometimes it would kind of like fizzle in and out. But the version I saw this week, it was a much better version, a much cleaner version.
I always liked those guys at the cons. You could get like the made for TV direct that wasn't readily available back then, pre-YouTube era and everything. And, pick up your Reb Brown Captain America, you pick up your Harvey Korman. That'd be really something.
Generation
Roger
X.
Corman. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I always remember seeing it at Heroes Con in Charlotte and stuff like that. There'd always be some dude off that would have all the illegal VHSs and whatnot, and you just see that guy. I don't think I ever really bought it because it seemed like such a gamble. You're just ooh, I don't know.
I haven't really been in the pirated movie market in a while, but I feel like there need to be people selling like the original versions of the original Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, they did for a little while. That's how I got my copy off of eBay back in the day when they would just let you sell anything. So they've got the Laserdisc rips of the original, trilogy and everything.
Oh, nice. So it's a good transfer.
Oh, it's real good looking.
The the unaltered Star Wars hasn't been available anywhere my son's whole life, and he really wants to see it. So I need to maybe I need to get you to rip a copy of your copy for me there.
Yeah, we could see how we might do that. Before we get into all that, though, we do want to thank everybody for stopping by, subscribing on YouTube, and watching this here show live, everybody. We are live over on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch and stuff like that. So if you are on any of those platforms, like, subscribe, do all those fun things, man. We really appreciate it. And we're seeing the numbers kind of grow in the live chat every week and stuff. So it's nice to see that you guys are out there and saying hello and whatnot. We really appreciate that. And we're making other videos and stuff too. My popcorn video hit 1 million views this week, or today, actually.
That's cause for celebration right there. Where's the confetti?
Portia. Congratulations, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I put it together hoping it would do well. I didn't know that we'd ever get to 1 million on it, certainly this fast and everything. So I really appreciate that. And because it's also made me go out and do more video stuff and everything, continuing this YouTube channel. And I think it's one of the reasons why we're even streaming this program today on YouTube is because of stuff like that. And it's because of, folks like you that we can do stuff like that. So appreciate it all. And you do that by just like liking, subscribing, all that kind of good stuff, putting the notifications out, because I'm going to be doing new videos. I just did an announcement video that I'm being sent to Subwoofer and everything. They've sent it to me. We're going to have unboxings and all kinds of other videos and stuff like that. And of course, the regular live streams and stuff that I'm doing within the week. We've got our TikTok reacts, all kinds of things. Honest to God, we're putting in so much freaking work over here. We need more views is what we really need to do, because we're putting in the work. Now we need some eyeballs on it. So like, subscribe, do all that kind of fun stuff. We really appreciate it. And if you really, really love this show, head on over to patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And on the Dinger Zone this week, everybody, our little special show that only the folks over at patreon.com/HMP get, we talked about our favorite movies from 1994. I forgot to do it. We'll do it in the post-show here and everything, but I did get a response from Vandiver on his top 5, because I put that in the announcement there and everything. So we'll do that in post-show. Remind me about that.
Cool.
Yeah, so check that out over at patreon.com/HMP. And oh my gosh, hold on. Oh, I didn't put that. I'll have it next week. I got the Patreon names with all the people on there and everything. We'll put that up on the show for YouTube next week. But it's on the end of all of my YouTube videos. Our Patreon supporters, whether it's $1 on up, get your name on the end of that credits and show it to your mom and say, "Look, Mom, I did something with my life." Patreon.com/HMP. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
It would make you more of a producer than half the people in Atlanta who claim that they're producers.
Yeah.
Go back to the pre-show when I said if I could, my one dream in life is to be born rich, I could be producing stuff down there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, put it on your IMDb. We'll vouch for you on this one. It's A-okay. Well, let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plot line for The Fantastic Four from 1994. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Come on. Give me just a moment. This is how live shows work, everybody. They don't. Told you I need a producer. When dosed with cosmic rays, 4 intrepid explorers are given incredible powers. This is written by Craig J. Nevas. The closest thing that you'd know him from would be that 1999 direct-to-video Mark Dacascos action flick. It's no one's seen it. And Kevin Rock, who doesn't fare much better. He wrote the Howling Six, The Freaks, and Warlock Armageddon.
Wow.
Director Ole Sassoon, and that is not the heir to the Ola of Ole and Vidal Sassoon fortunes. I did look that up. Very disappointing. Tons of videos for him, though. Music videos. We got Mr. Autograph, Juice Newton, Wang Chung, Eric. He's also got some good ones. Eric Clapton, Gloria Estefan, Jerry Lee Lewis, and John Lee Hooker. And tons of TV shows like Xena, Viper, Martial Law, and everyone's favorite, She Spies. This is starring Alex Hyde White, Joseph Culp, Rebecca Stabb, amazing name, Jay Underwood, Michael Bailey Smith, and Commandant Lassard himself, George Gaines.
Yeah, he's there for a sandwich opening scene.
I mean, come on, he's the heavy hitter in the cast. You got to open up with the guy that's going to keep him in the seat.
No kidding. He's just hamming it up to all degrees. I love it so much. It's just they were just like, go to town, baby. And he's clearly the only one who's there shooting that day. He's not with the class or anything else like that. They're getting his singles and doing all the other class work separate. Like maybe one shot where there's a couple people in the foreground, but that's it. They are getting him in and out of there toot sweet.
Which is the more iconic role, Commandant Lassard or the foster dad on Punky Brewster?
Well, the fact that you have to call him the foster dad and not his name on the show,
true.
I think
But
we know
look
the
who you're
answer.
talking to. I make, I'm not the best with names. I think his name was George, though. I
believe it is George.
Yeah. Listen, this movie is it's low budget, but I think it has a heart of gold. This little stupid thing. It's not good.
I was talking to Bruce off air about this, and this movie, I hadn't seen it in about 15 years. And I remembered just being bored to tears by it 15 years ago. And maybe it's because I'm entertainment broken from having to do so many movies for our dumb show. This time I saw this movie and I like it. Like, it's not good. It's not a good movie, but it's not a boring movie either. This is a movie where you're like, oh, these people are, especially when you learn that this movie was never going to be released. Like, I know that when you see the documentary Doomed, that they say, no, we were planning on releasing it. That's all horseshit. Like, you know immediately that's fake. That was never in the cards. But what you can tell is that the people who made this movie are doing the best job they possibly can at making this movie. That doesn't mean they're good filmmakers. As a matter of fact, this movie surprises you over and over again with where they're incompetent in the movie making, which makes for a really fun watch.
In 94, though, by then, direct-to-video was still big business. I'm kind of surprised they didn't at least take a flyer on the direct-to-video route.
Well, because it never, the money wasn't in that. The money was in the German guy who held the rights for Fantastic Four, just making another movie. That's all he wanted.
The Constantine group
extend the rights so that then Avi Arad would have to buy the rights from him. And so, in a rare case where somebody is screwing over Avi Arad instead of the other way around,
so hard to believe.
Finally, it took a German to get one over on Avi Arad, but they did.
Avi Arad, Israeli, not the best international relationship there historically. So
definitely not. But
you knew it wouldn't be an American who'd get one over on him, though. So
I thought it'd be Golem and Globus versus Avi Arad. Now that's the battle I want to see.
Oh, that's a celebrity death match we never really saw. That would have been. Of course, everybody would be scratching their heads, going like, is this too niche? What is this?"
So, Adam, am I catching it right that you actually like this movie?
I don't hate it.
Right.
It does. Like you said, it feels like there's enough in here that, like, had they had any kind of budget or any wherewithal to do anything, that they might have done something. This feels like, and again, I said the director directed a lot of television things. This feels like a television show. And honestly, if this was like a Marvel TV series or something like that, if you up the budget again just a little bit, it wouldn't be bad for a TV show of the early 90s. It's not horrid.
Oh boy.
I'm not saying that you don't change things and make things better for sure, but like, it feels like of that era of television programming.
It feels like a 1984, I think it feels like it was 10 years older than what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What year did we do the whole Dragon Con live show with Fantastic Four, Adam? Is that like 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
Gosh, probably that sounds about right.
Because I really did not remember it from then. It was almost like watching it for the first time again today or yesterday.
Yeah, it's because you want to try to push all the mush out of your mind, and once you're done with this, you've done a review, and then you're going to be like, "Whoop, bye."
I remember, and I may not remember this correctly. I haven't re-listened to that episode or anything, but I kind of remember us mostly just sort of making fun of it. But I found it so charming this time around. I think it's going to be more like, it wasn't that sweet instead of just kicking a dog while it's down this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch this and see the duct tape and all the seams on everything, and you can focus on that if you like. But like, they're trying to do something at least with this, and everybody is in it. Like I said, when you see the Doom documentary, you find out the guy that's playing Dr. Doom really wants to do a good job. He's not an amazing actor, but God bless him, he is going for it. He's volunteered every single time.
Didn't he volunteer to do AVR for free just because he didn't like the way he sounded through the mask? Which, watching this, I don't think he sounded that bad compared to the, to the everything else we're seeing on screen. So he really was dedicated to it.
It wasn't great. It's like it is one of those elements that you're like, that could be better. That one.
Well, it's
and
one of
seems
those
like an
things.
easy solve.
The actor thought that he was going to sound like Darth Vader, and he just sounds like Bane.
I also maybe cutting at some corners because I saw a super low res transfer on YouTube that had French subtitles. Is that the same one you guys watched?
No, mine came from.
Yeah, so you probably saw a better version than I did. I'll be honest, the version that I watched, I genuinely, not making a joke, I recommend watch it on the smallest screen you can because you see every pixel if you watch it on your television.
Get on the
that was
stairs, never be looking at my watch. Just
that was Bruce's joke forever. You could have watched it on your iWatch, buddy.
But it looked like it was one of the old Winamp graphics where it was made for a window on your computer about the size of what we're seeing ourselves on StreamYard right now. So that's really the size it needed to be watched at. And I watched it on like a 71-inch television.
I'm watching this on a real player.
Yeah. So it was kind of painful. The audio wasn't that bad though. And I barely noticed the French subtitles. I tried to see how much French I could remember. The answer is not a lot.
No.
The movie starts, right? The movie starts, and immediately I thought of you, Portress, because the opening music to this movie, I was like, hold on a second. Is that an orchestra?
Yes.
And it is. And not only is it an orchestra, but it's doing its job where it's like a heroic march, like most superhero movies need, right? And I found out that the reason why it's so good is because brothers David and Eric Wurst composed this movie, and they hired a 40-piece orchestra at their own expense to make the soundtrack for this movie.
Why? I mean, I don't understand that decision while actors are drinking Shasta instead of Diet Coke.
Well, the reason being is because I think the director, I think a lot of the actors, I think the composer, I think the editor of this movie, I think a lot of people thought this was going to be a very big deal just because it's the Fantastic Four, number one, and number two, they were told that it had $1.5 million budget, which was like double anything that New Horizons had done in a million years. And so they were like, oh, they're really championing this movie. And so they were all lied to. All of these people were lied to. And so to pay for a 40-piece orchestra out of your own money for this movie, it seems ridiculous now, but at the time these brothers were probably like, this is it. This is the movie that's going to get us all the other work.
40-piece orchestra and spacesuits that are made out of like insulation or something from your attic. It's great. I love the dichotomy there.
The smart thing is that with this, they only do about 45 seconds for each song. So you don't have to it's not like they have they've got a theme and we're going to repeat that theme. So while they may have had 40 people in for the score and everything, which it's surprising. But when you realize that it literally is 60 seconds of each song, and that's it, and they just are kind of looping that back over. Except there's a scene.
There's probably like 10 different songs in this thing, though. It's not. I mean, it is repetitive, but it's not repetitive to the point where it's like
it's not the
like
black hole.
Halloween. I mean,
yeah, I think what I would say is the orchestra's great. The composition is uninspired. And then when you juxtapose it to those opening graphics that in my notes, I said, these opening graphics of the planets, they're like worthy of a 1978 film strip that they were still showing in my junior high in like 1984.
Oh, I thought that was great.
86.
I thought that was great.
I liked it. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely not equal to the kind of opening you get on Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. I mean, it definitely has that can-do attitude that I like.
Well, but again, you're talking about a movie that had 4,000 times the budget as this movie. I mean, when you're using the royalty-free NASA photos for your opener for your $1 million movie, and then you put that filter on all of the photos. I think that's a great way to get through that opening scene. So it feels like it's a bigger movie than it actually is. It's like one of those times. It's one of the times where I was like, that's pretty clever what they did there. That's clever filmmaking. And it wasn't, it's not that I thought it was great or anything, but I thought that it was passable for what this movie is. If this movie had a $40 million budget, everyone should be fired. But it didn't. It didn't. It had $1 million, and they told everybody they had $1.5 million to make it.
I think that I love the juxtaposition of a 40-piece orchestra with an original composition over top of pictures that were taken out of an Encyclopedia Britannica.
Well, that's sure, because that's what this movie is, Bruce. Like,
I think that we're both seeing it as a positive. You're trying to convince me to see it. I like what I'm seeing because I like that can-do attitude. I love the juxtaposition, but it's just kind of jarring when you think there are a bunch of people who devoted their life to learning things like the oboe, all in a room together with an original composition to be played over these images. I just, something about that seems so bizarre and beautiful to me, and you don't get that anywhere but someone like Corman. Because if this were Charles Band, it'd be his brother's stupid composition.
Well, of course. And that's one of the bits in Doomed that I found completely fascinating, is that you learn that they didn't go with Roger Corman first. They went with Floyd Kaufman to make it. But Floyd Kaufman was friends with Stan Lee. And so Kaufman was like, because of my relationship with Stan Lee, I didn't want to do it because it was going to be bad. Whatever it was we made was going to make Stan Lee angry that we did this. And so I decided not to do it. So my point being, if Floyd Kaufman, Lloyd, no F. If Lloyd Kaufman is saying, this made me feel dirty, I didn't want to do it,
that's bad.
Perhaps you listen to Lloyd Kaufman for once.
I do want to see a Troma Pictures Fantastic Four movie now. Like, I don't want anyone else to have to see it. I want them to make it for an audience of one, but I just want to see what that looks like. The guy that brought you the Toxic Avenger.
At some point, Dr. Doom's mask is going to come off and he's just going to be destructed. Just
way more homophobic and racist than it is right now.
Well, it is a trauma film. Hello, listen, you buy a ticket for a reason, don't you?
All the non-union guys he uses from New Jersey, it would have been the same old people.
The big giant fat guy would be Dr. Doom.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's always got that one big fat guy.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom.
Oh, he's the thing.
No, or maybe just Johnny, because it'd be funny. Now, speaking of which, though, as far as the kind of origin story as Fantastic Four goes, this isn't that bad.
No, not bad.
The story's fine. I mean, it really hits all the necessary beats. It's got just maybe one or two kind of questionable things, and they're definitely not going to make this one 2.5 hours long, so you got to fit it in. That's probably great. 80 pages of script. But it's one of the choices now as an origin story, I like it, but one of the choices, was it really necessary to show us an adult Reed living in the same house as like a very not adult Sue? Like, it opens up at that boarding house, Mrs. Storm's boarding house, and it just set me off balance for the whole thing, because I know where Reed and Sue's relationship goes, and when it's like creepy Uncle Reed and the 10-year-old blonde girl running up, that I don't know, man. I don't think that was a good move.
I didn't really cross my mind, but I mean, at the same time, but I get that. That makes sense. But at least they give us 10 years went by.
Well, hold on. Let's go backwards for a second, because at 11 minutes, because I checked, at the 11-minute mark, Dr. Doom is already Dr. Doom. So we're doing something pretty special here, because that's the first instance that happens, is the Dr. Doom transformation. And then as soon as it becomes Dr. Doom, he starts speaking with an accent. That's the way that works. After you have some sort of massive physical trauma, you're going to start speaking with an accent.
Your larynx gets a little bit shaky, and then you just kind of change how you talk. It happens.
Everybody knows that. And then There's the moment where they're in the foyer of Sue's mom's house, and it's the four of them standing there. And she goes, "Well, will you look at that? It's the Fantastic Four." And I was like, "That's canon, right?" Where Sue's
Yeah.
mom in the foyer of her traditionally like 1950s dressed house, she's the one who comes up with the name the Fantastic Four. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, of course. And I guess at the very earliest, this would have been 1984 if it's 10 years before the main story of the movie or whatever. But even in 84, that's strange to see, like the bewitched looking house and the mom.
Yeah, I mean, it looks almost Victorian in nature. Like it's that, it's and it is pretty. I mean, they do a great job wherever they found that location. That's a pretty cool location, man, because they weren't paying a lot of money to shoot there. So,
and there are few things I love more than like low budget practical effects, or almost a throwback to what I'll call the golden days of pulp sci-fi, like when Them was made, that kind of era, Forbidden Planet, that kind of stuff. It's a Roger Corman staple. We really get a lot of it when Victor gets zapped. And I'm just sitting there watching that and really enjoying it. But at the same time, I forget, hey, this movie's only 30 years old. It looks more like 50 to 60 years old.
He's giving it his best when he's getting shocked there and everything. They were just like, "Listen, there's going to be a lot of electricity on you." And he's like, "Say no more. I'm getting hit by electricity act down to a science." And he does. It's like, it's a little over the top, but it's great. It's what it's supposed to be.
And also, we hear a lot about Colossus throughout this movie. They keep speaking of Colossus over and over. They say the word Colossus probably 40 times in this movie, but most of it is at the top, because it's where Victor and Richard are arguing over the math, right? Like the math is wrong, and that's why Doom becomes Doom, but Doom is blaming Richard for the math being wrong. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can say it goes either way, but I choose to believe that it was Richard who was wrong, because everybody gets screwed whenever Reed Richards is like messing with science, especially in this movie. When he's messing around with science that he doesn't really understand, everyone around him just gets completely boned, which is kind of what I like about this movie, man.
It really is the least flattering Reed Richards depiction, other than when he's just a straight up villain in the Ultimate Universe.
At least they make him smart. At least he's smart. I mean, like, we'll talk about that subsequent Fantastic Four movies, but at least it feels like they made him, at least a wiseacre.
I totally felt lost for a minute, though, when Victor's being taken to the morgue, after he's zapped, and I'm all confused. Like, he's going to the morgue. Is he going to be resurrected or something? And when the doctor, who's actually one of his henchmen dressed up in a white coat, when he starts talking, I'm like, why does this guy have a Transylvania accent? That's an odd decision to make. And it took me a while. I mean, I really should have caught on. It's Latvian, not Transylvanian. But it really took me a while to catch on that, this is how they're getting him out of the hospital. But, I mean, he is a foreign dignitary. Couldn't he just check himself out? Does he have to fake his own death?
These are comic book rules, damn it.
Also, something that I noticed about every time Doom's lackeys, those two guys show up, there's a bassoon playing every time they show up on screen, and it just belies their evil intent, because I know that they're supposed to be like the weird comic relief in this movie, but just hearing that wah, wah, wah of like the note, ridiculous.
The note I made with no other comments were some goofy woodwinds in this score. That's entirely what I was talking about, is the strange, like, here come the clowns walking around the third ring in the circus. We're going to play that.
It's almost like those B science films from the 50s and 60s, where, like, why are we bringing this doofus along with us on our very important space mission? And that's kind of what it feels like with Doom's lackeys in this.
We need a bit of a laugh. What?
It's also probably right around this point in the movie when I'm starting to wonder, like, what year did that Dr. Mordred movie come out? Are these pretty comparable? in terms of year of release. Wasn't Mordred 92? This is 94.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Dr. Mordred's release date at the top of the dome.
I mean, what an unfair question.
Well, it's basically a Doctor Strange movie, and I was thinking of throwaway.
You've got the same mother box that we have.
I know.
Why don't you look it up?
Well, the
You're
point I'm
supposed to
trying
be
to
the
make.
comic book expert between the three of us.
It's true.
Well, then trust me, they're comps. But I guess the point I was starting to make is I'm going to stack this up because you won't hear this said out loud very many times, but Charles Band clearly had a larger budget. So I'm like comparing this to the Jeffrey Combs classic Dr. Mordred, and I think so far I'm giving the tip of the hat to Empire Pictures. He still did good work before he went full moon.
Well,
but,
I mean, man, Combs is a 1,000 times better actor than anyone else, than anyone in this movie. I mean,
George
so
Gaines
good.
begs to differ.
Huh?
George Gaines begs to differ.
George Gaines.
If they'd made him Doom, this thing goes straight to the top of the box office.
Short-sighted, those guys.
I like our little kind of our mole man here and everything. He's fantastic with
The
his
jeweler. That is
the
his,
jeweler, because they
his
couldn't get the
canon name.
rights to the mole man, although clearly they wanted the mole man.
Yeah.
How do you get the rights to the Fantastic Four and not the Mole Man? Like, who's holding out? Like, okay, for the amount of money you offered us, you can have the Fantastic Four, but Mole Man, that's some big money there.
All right, we can finally do this moment. If you'll look at this clause.
To get to your point, though, Adam, like the fact that there's a 10 years later in this movie, it just punches you in the face where it's like first Doom becomes Doom, and then whammo, 10 years later hits next, and it's like, how fast is this movie going, man? It's great. Like that happens at like minute 12 in this movie, and it's like, man, I need to get a seatbelt for this thing. This thing is moving, baby.
And we're moving on.
I would argue 6 weeks later works just as good as 10 years later, and then you don't have to cast a kid as the love interest. That's all I'm saying.
But that's the thing, is that if you make it 10 years later, you can make Sue sexy, and no one's gonna blink an eye.
Or she could just be sexy the first time you see her. I don't need to know she was ever a child.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why they did it that way either, Bruce. I'm not going to lie to you. That's very strange to me. But it might be the only, like, I could see someone thinking, why would this smoke show be attracted to this person? And they were like, oh, because she fell in love with him as a kid.
I have an idea. I have just, again, I don't want to make excuses for filmmakers here, but this is a guess. Because we are kind of low budget here and everything. I would guess that this daughter was the young girl was maybe the daughter of somebody that was around or something, to be like, hey, like there's no role for her, and like, well, you could do and throw her in that thing.
A $25,000 cameo, something like that.
It's just
I never thought of it that way.
Throw her in there. She's real good for us. She's the producer's daughter or some crap like that. I don't know. Like, again, that's my best guess.
It's like the weird thing, like a perfectly acceptable gap in age now, like 5-6 years when you're mine and Sean's age, no big deal. But if I knew somebody when they were 15 and I was 20, 21, I don't care how old they are now. It's just stuck in my head that I couldn't go out with them because they're always 15 to me. So that's the weird thing with Reed here on me. That's probably just a me thing, but it'd be really weird if like the neighbor kid who is a middle schooler, and then like 10 years later asking her out, boy, people are going to judge you harshly.
These were the 50s though. So.
Was Ben Grimm too handsome in his human form? I never thought of Ben Grimm as like super handsome. I always thought that's part of what was funny about it, is it's not like Ben was a solid 9 before he became Thing. He was like a 5'6" at best. But this guy got some model good looks, a nice jawline, fancy hair. He's no Ben Chickless or whatever that guy's name was. Michael Chickless.
Yeah.
No, he's fine. I think he's the right size and everything. He's a big dude, so that makes it proportional. It seems correct that he would be that kind of guy. He worked well enough for me. You know, and
Yeah, I
nothing
thought he was
special,
good.
but nothing to totally damn either. Like he's not given a boatload to work with here, but you know, you can't blame him for that.
Now, absurd comic book logic that I can enjoy because I like absurd comic book logic. But when he finally convinces Ben to be his test pilot, and he's like, we need 2 more people for the crew. I know what. Let's go to my old landlady's kids and ask them. That seems so off the wall to go get like, oh, she was always nice. I'll take her kids to space and risk their lives.
Could it be better written? Yes. Yes,
Yes,
it
but
could.
that's literally that moment right there that you're describing, Bruce, is literally the moment where I realized that I like it. I like this movie more than the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movies.
Oh,
because
yeah,
because of things like that, where it's like, oh man, so like we're really like just like we got to keep moving, guys. We got to keep moving. There's no time for that. Let's keep going.
I am a fan of the absurd, but only when someone thought it was smart. Like someone had to think that was a smart thing to put in it for me to enjoy the absurdity. Does that make sense? Like absurd on purpose, stuff like Top Secret, it gets old. But when somebody genuinely thinks this is a good way to do it, because I mean, I think the more obvious way to do it is that Reed and Sue are already in a relationship before the space flight. Ben's the pilot. Johnny sneaks on board and he's the stowaway. You know, kind of like Lost in Space. He's the extra weight that throws them off.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I can't tell what Johnny and Sue's job was.
To look pretty. They're doing a great job. Leave them alone.
Because it's called the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be the Fantastic Two, and that doesn't rhyme. So get out of here.
They could call them the dynamic. Oh, never mind. Dynamic duo's taken.
I got to tell you, like the part that had me cackling is it's just before they turn into the Fantastic Four. They're in the museum. Ben knocks into Blind Lady. Her statuette drops out of her hand and breaks into a million pieces. And then to kind of console her, he literally picks her up off of her feet and like over his head and like holds her there for like a 3 Mississippi, then puts her down on the ground. That is the most bizarre way of trying to console someone I've ever seen in my life.
I did make a note that says you probably shouldn't lift blind ladies without consent. Because she tells him to put her down and he won't put her down. He continues to lift her.
This is comforting. This is comforting. There you go.
Because of that, it's the craziest thing too, because immediately she's smitten with him, even though this is their only interaction.
They fall in love quickly.
She has that weird scene where she's where it's almost like they're trying to recreate Ghost, that scene from Ghost with Swayze and Demi Moore, and she's like putting the clay on her lips and stuff, and I'm like, lady, not for this movie. Don't do that for this movie, lady. Whatever your direction is here, go like 80% less than what you're doing right now.
You're thinking Ghost. I can't get Lionel Richie's Hello music video out of my mind the whole time.
That's where I went.
Because of the blind lady.
And much like the blind lady in the Hello music video, they both make these horrible, ugly sculptures.
That doesn't look like him.
Good. Yeah.
What are you talking about? Ooh.
Do you think somebody owns that Lionel Richie head?
Oh,
somebody
got
it,
it,
right?
I think the King of the Commodores himself. I think Lionel Richie has that sucker on a mantle. And he's like proud of it. Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would
hope
put
Nicole
that
inherits it.
in the entryway on the table that normally has like the big piece on it and everything.
Oh, like it's
I put the head on that as they walk in, big kind of flower arrangement or something behind. I think it looks lovely.
What a terrific idea.
I do have the skills.
How you tell them hello when they walk into the house. Come on.
Oh my God. Or aren't you going to say hello? I mean, Jesus, what a great idea, man. What a great, like, it's kind of like, it's so off-putting, but funny at the same time that like everybody who walks in that house, they would all have the story. Like, hey, have you been to Lionel Richie's? Oh my God, the head. You talking about the head?
Yeah. And I also think Lionel does what I call a sycophant test, where he stands next to it and he says, "This looks just like me, doesn't it?" And like gives you the pressure to make you think he wants you to say yes, and he knows his true friends are the ones that say you're an idiot, Lionel. It looks nothing like you.
You right. Boom. Let's talk about the I like the stupid idea of we flipped out, these fake jewels for these fake jewels, and that's what's going to take our ship down and everything. Awesome. Love how
So
also,
good.
again, the smartest man in the Marvel universe doesn't double check things before things go, we put it in there yesterday. It's fine.
I mean,
Fake. He even says on the ship, he's like, fake. The diamonds are fake. Why are you just figuring this out now, Reed?
They're not fake. They're man-made. I guess that makes a difference.
So good.
But I've seen.
But I mean, come on, Bruce. I mean,
don't you put like
you correcting me over man-made to fake? I mean, come on. I mean, he's still going to have to double check the goddamn thing. It doesn't matter if it's man-made or fake.
Put the little gold dome like from a cake dish over it. I mean, literally Roger Corman could just use the cake dish and then problem solved. The jeweler doesn't know what to do about a cake.
Yeah, a little master combo lock on there. You're good to go.
The laser goes right through the optically clear glass. Problem solved. This jeweler villain is what I remembered most from watching this back in the 90s. Like, that is a character that stuck with me. Not Doom, not any of the Fantastic Four, but that creepy little jeweler. And I couldn't really put my finger on it at the time, while that was the character that stuck with me. Watching it for my third and probably final time.
What?
I think he has a lot of leprechaun qualities, and I'm a sucker for leprechauns. And that's really what got me. I mean, I'm waiting for him to have a little Irish accent, and he's going after diamonds. It should have been me pot of gold that did it all, but it's close. I can deal with a diamond over a pot of gold.
Just a great bad makeup and everything on him and stuff. I love the design of him with the little with his little glass there and everything. It's good looking for as little low rent as it is.
They do a really good job of basically saying, hey, we couldn't get Mole Man, so we have to make our own guy. It's pretty great. The initiative to do that. Like, yeah, he's underground. Like he's running around underground. That doesn't make sense for a guy called the Jeweler, but everything else is pretty there, I
mean, I think they should have just went with some other burrowing animal. Call him the groundhog or the woodchuck or something like that.
I love when he's just like, now bring me a woman.
Once again, New York City of
down here in the river.
I don't know, in 1994, 5-6 million people in New York, but the one woman he grabs is the blind sculptress that also happens to have a thing for that guy she met once who swept her off her feet, quite literally.
I love how they're breaking in, like the biggest crew in the world jumps in, and they're propelling in on lines. You're robbing a blind woman. How tough is this? There's like the SWAT teams here.
I liked, though, I don't know if either of you appreciated this, or maybe I just read too much into it and I'm giving them artistic credit for something that could be explained by incompetence or laziness. But I like the way that her apartment was dressed, or rather not dressed, because why would a blind person have wall art up and things like that? I just kind of noticed that little detail, and I don't know if it was done intentionally or not, but it is to me.
No chance. That's that way because they're cheap. They have no money, and they go, yeah, because she's blind. That's it. Yeah, that's a ticket. They trust me. They were not thinking that hard on this movie.
They could have at least framed some spoons and put them up or something.
It was like, I did like how it was. It was just a nothing white area and whatnot. They're just like, yeah, that's her home. Sure it is. Yeah, that's where she lives.
I mean, Adam, there's so much black backgrounds. Like think of their prison when they're captured by Doom. I mean, is that even a 4-wall set? I don't think it is. I think it's really 2 walls, and then they have like the bars kind of in front of the camera, but I don't think you ever see all four walls in one shot.
It feel like it was shot in a small college's black box theater. That's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you could pan the camera to the left or the right, and it's like, whoops, there you go. Sorry about that. There's Chuck. Sorry about that.
Just a bunch of C stands.
We got a lot of money on
the C stands. Oh, they're using like modified like coat racks and stuff. The ship, I thought the design on Reed's ship was actually pretty cool because there'd have to be a lot of temptation of just having a space shuttle look-alike or something. But they do give us this little kind of wedge-shaped, triangular-shaped model that someone had to make. This wasn't just an off-the-shelf kind of thing. I like the ship. Did you guys have any thoughts on that? It's not too retro. It looks just perfect for 94, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It's like, again, that's the want is at least there. It seems they want to do a good job. They just don't have the ability to do a good job.
My favorite is the interior, because the interior of that ship, it looks like that scene from Ed Wood where he's like, hey, so I'm supposed to be the pilot. That's literally what that looked like to me, and I'm all about it. I am all about it. I am not complaining.
You know the old Star Trek, the original series, where we just go Dutch angles on the camera and everybody would run to one side and then everybody would run to the other and you thought the ship was shaking, or you were supposed to think the ship was shaking. They do a little bit of that where everybody's leaning forward and back at the same time, but not nearly violent enough for the explosion that's being depicted outside of the ship.
But them coming down, like getting their powers and everything, how they first kind of find them. I mean, it's a fun little way of kind of showing where all of these things are coming from. And it's fun. It's stupid. It doesn't look great, but
hold on.
Best
scene in the movie is from that scene, though. Like the best shot in the movie where they are kind of like on the cliff's edge and they're silhouetted by the setting sun, and it's just the four of them standing on cliff's edge, and it's like, like reddish, like sort of orange behind them. That is the best shot in the movie. It is shocking that they got that shot in this movie, because there isn't a whole bunch of things where you're like, oh wow, that's a professional shot right there.
I might be taking this and really running with it because it's a shot that may even look better by comparison of a lot of the shots around it. But it almost had like a Kurosawa feeling. Like if they were walking into the sunset, you have a little more of a sepia tone to it. But yeah, it's one of those classic epic shots. Should have been in 70 millimeter instead of direct to tape.
It's really impressive. Like I was kind of blown away because the rest of the movie isn't like that, where it looks like they waited for magic hour to shoot that shot, and it looks great.
And I was a little confused by everything here by the tree. I just call this whole series By the Tree because they found a spot where they're like out in the middle of nowhere, yet there's only one lone tree growing there. Kind of cool, kind of spooky, but I think every single time I've seen this movie, I've thought that's supposed to be another planet. Like they landed on another planet and have to be rescued, but it's not the case. But I did start to wonder, are they on another planet? But you hear like some vultures cawing in the background and stuff, but also not above Roger Corman to just say, hey, yeah, it's another planet. So what if they have grass and vultures in a tree? But this is where their powers start to come out. And that's when we get to see just what we're going to get. We've gotten some tastes of a few things, like when we get the cosmic rays that they're flying through. I thought that effect was okay. But when you're making a superhero movie, what are the powers going to look like? And boy, do we get the powers here, along with an explanation for why they have the powers. How did you like that explanation? I think that's been toyed with at times in the comics.
Yeah, I remember some of that bull crap going around in comics and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, here's kind of the more or less reason why X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah.
And Stan Lee's original idea behind them is that they each were imbued with the power of one of the four alchemical elements, I guess: earth, wind, fire, and water. Reed is the water, earth, clearly Thing with his rocks, fire, well, Human Torch. And then, they didn't know what to do with wind, so they gave us an invisible girl. But here, explaining, she's kind of shy. That makes her invisible. He's always stretching himself too thin, so he becomes Stretchy Man. I wonder what would be our powers, guys? If we went through the Van Allen belt and we got those cosmic rays and it's our personality, I think my power is I would be able to make other people's heads explode. And I think, Sean, your power is that you would be able to make your own head explode. I think you get, bothered by things. And I think I'm very good at bothering people. What do you think, Adam, for you?
When he explodes his head, though, does it come back like in Beetlejuice where there's a tiny little head and then it eventually grows back up to be the full size again? Because that I'd be for.
I'm picturing the Garbage Pail Kid atom bomb, who you should be familiar with, Adam, where it's like a nuclear explosion just out of the top of the head, and then like a new cranium just kind of grows over the hole. It's almost like a volcano.
Bruce, in what world did you think it would be okay that you give your own superpower and then you give me my superpower? That's not how that works.
I'm not a rational guy, man.
That's not how that works, Bruce. You
Okay,
could either
give me a
split
superpower.
up the powers where we all get to choose our own, or one person chooses all three.
I thought we would all three choose all three. Like I would give you my opinion. Adam could give us his. You give us yours.
With me, it's easy. Everybody gets spaghetti hands, so you can just,
Your power would be running on all fours like a beast through the woods, like that dream you have.
I do, yeah, I do have that. That's definitely on the list of dreams here. Let's talk about the thing, man. The toughest thing to get right in Fantastic Four and stuff. And honestly, for the first time out in here, this is not horrible. It's not great, but it's not.
I can't believe I'm hearing you say this, Adam, because you were the person who was the most judgmental towards the Thing costume. So that's awesome. That's really cool to hear.
I think they kind of nailed it for this budget, for this time. They were overachieved. The articulation on the lips amazes me.
That was crazy. I couldn't believe they had that.
There's no reason it should be as good as it is with the budget that this movie has. And it feels like they actually cared what they were doing when they made this. And while everything on it's not perfect, it's like, boy, oh boy, they put this together with nothing. With nothing. It's crazy. And I gotta say, it's not too bad. But my biggest complaint, and I only really saw it this time, is that, the Thing is always just kind of just an amalgamation of rocks and stuff like that. You never really draw it the same twice, the costume very much kind of the same. We got the rocky crags everywhere and stuff. But this time I noticed what I'm going to, lack of a better word, call rock nipples. And they're too high. That's the biggest problem, is that they're up here. They're closer towards the clavicles than they would be where the actual nipple is, for whatever. But and I thought, like, maybe it's just the one. Nope, there are both. They're in the exact same spot, and they're right high in his chest. It looks weird, and I kept looking at his jugs the entire time. That's my only complaint.
You don't know how happy it makes me that someone is complaining about nipple placement and it's not me, because that sounds like the ridiculous crap I get embarrassed about saying later on. So I'm glad I didn't do it this time.
Listen, he also runs around in his underpants a couple of times as well. And I kept thinking, like, how would this guy be okay with that? Would the character that we met be like, yeah, I tell you what, I'm going with the briefs?
Yeah, no way.
When the blind lady gets that shipment of like death masks of the Fantastic Four or something.
Yeah, what in the world?
I don't know why. I don't know why she got those or why we should care, but I love it that the delivery guy has like Thor wings on his baseball cap. Is that an Easter egg, or is that just a baseball cap somebody had and thought it was cool? Or did somebody actually sew wings on a hat specifically so he could have that?
He works for FTD.
They only deliver flowers, not busts of dead people. I'm sorry, presumed dead people.
Well, okay. So, all right. I looked it up just because I just wanted to double check on dates and everything. I'm going to say that this is also then a reference to Adventures in Babysitting from 1987.
Nice.
So, well, that's Thor.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they did. They're just going, we like that movie. It's a Marvel thingy. We're taking that.
Oh, I just looked it up on IMDb. It's the exact same hat no, I didn't look anything up, but it would be cool if that was the exact same hat that Vincent D'Onofrio had on.
One of the things that I want to bring up about this movie is that it seems like there is still a bit of the Batman 66 DNA in this movie, and it might be the last time you get it, because when you're looking around at the lab, I think it's Reed's lab, where you're looking around. One of the instruments is called the Inferno meter. It says it like in big bold letters on the gauge, Inferno meter. And I was like, man, that is as close to 66 Batman as we're probably going to get at this point. And this is 94.
Yeah.
I mean, man, that's pretty great.
Almost 30 years later. And the thing that made me think most of 66 Batman, because I had that same thought this time through, but it's the villains, the fact that the villains have a theme, but their only real power is their henchmen. You know what I mean? When did the Joker ever try to punch Batman or Robin? It was always the Joker minions out there doing it. And unfortunately, you know, these they can't afford as many minions, I suppose, as they once did. But I like it that the jeweler's got all of his sewer dwellers. They look like kind of like the middle-aged man version of all the punk kids from the Ninja Turtles movie. Yeah, but poor Dr. Doom. I mean, this guy is royalty, and he's got exactly 2 henchmen and a nebbish doctor at his disposal.
Man. I don't know if you guys remember Doomed, the documentary about this movie.
Yeah.
But when they're interviewing all of the actors, the thing that the big takeaway from this is how surprising it is that of all the people in this movie who look great, the guy who plays Dr. Doom looks like he hasn't aged a day. And everybody else is like bald and super old and fat. And it's like, wow, like I can't believe how well Dr. Doom is like looking at Jerry Seinfeld right now. Jerry Seinfeld is 71 years old. And when you look at him, like you're like, well, he was never like super handsome guy. But for a 71-year-old, you would never in a million years guess that guy was 71 years old. He looks amazing. And that's kind of what it was like to see the guy who's playing Dr. Doom in this.
And I've said it before. I'm going to go ahead and say it again right here. This is our best Doom to date. I love the comic book accurate costume. This is a better interpretation of Doom than we got from Trank or Story.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, something inside of me feels like Robert Downey Jr. may raise that bar a little bit, but until it happens, this is my favorite Doom.
The mask looks really good. The mask is right on point. Love that. Yeah. Like the costume is good. It could be, obviously the material and everything could be better, but they try to be as fairly comic accurate as they could.
Yeah.
But I made fun of it, but as much acting as he's doing with the hands look really good. So that's why you would do all that kind of stuff and like, hey, we worked real hard on these. Show us these hands, and they look really awesome. And they put the sound in there, and it totally works.
Yes, they take the trouble to put in the Foley in post, you know, of all the fingers clicking, which is a great sound. I love the way those gloves were made with all the various articulations. I think it'd have been very tempted to just make like a Halloween costume glove that didn't look quite as cool. They really put a lot of work into the hands on this. They did not feel that temptation that a lot of creative types do to put their own stamp on the way he looks. They just went for classic, gave us, you know, there's a reason Darth Vader looks so much like Doom, and that's because that classic Doom is cool.
You know, you just need to have a cape that's not made of like, you know, AstroTurf.
It was more like some leftover green screen material.
It's super fuzzy. It's got like a little odd texture stuff to it. It's like we do that today, but not in a bad way. This makes it just kind of look more shiny and stuff as opposed to slightly reflective or whatever. But like it's a little bit corny. But you know, you take it for what it is. But he's got like the big gauntlets and everything too. Like again, they did so much more work than they had to with Doom. Doom and the Thing. They said, hey, we're going to go out and we're actually going to try to make these look decent. Everything else is going to suffer, but these two will look pretty good.
I had a lot of thoughts about the Thing. One of the first things I had to think about the Thing is they clearly have a different actor in the prosthetics, a different actor in orange than the guy who plays Ben Grimm when he's not Thing.
And they were upset about that because the guy that they got playing in the Thing costume is smaller than the guy that they actually had playing the Thing.
Why don't you just you got the actor there? I mean, why don't you just stick him in the costume? But it doesn't make sense to me that when you become this overpowered monster, you lose 2 inches of height.
Well, ultimately, if Sean, you correct me if you remember this differently, but essentially it was just like, oh, well, we didn't have that actor kind of cast at the time or whatever. This thing takes forever to put together. We had to put it on somebody.
Yeah, it's the guy who was in the shop when they were building it is the guy who's in it.
So Roger Corman's too cheap for a couple of Apple boxes to at least let the guy stand on it.
You know, I will say this though, because all of the like the New York street shot scenes are stolen shots and whatnot.
Yeah, great.
Those were not real people. Those were real people. They were not extras or anything. They were just their look of like, what the hell is going on here is 100% what's actually happening. And it's great. He looks like he's so lost. And I do love that he's kind of short because he also looks like he's waddling.
Yeah, he does.
Looks like
It's almost like that scene in Leaving Las Vegas with the lights behind the cage, you know, except for it's the thing. It's great.
I also, you know, when they're in that lab and it's time to escape and Johnny's trying to burn a hole through the wall and he can't get it, so Thing just Kool-Aid Man's through the wall. For a moment, and this is the third time I've seen it, so I should have known it wasn't going to happen. But I was fully expecting like the perfect silhouette, like with one arm up, one arm down, shaping the wall, and Thing ran through it. That just seemed like something that would fit here, but they managed to resist any urge to do that. And then also there's another time where Thing is in the alleyway before he discovers the jeweler in his sewer dwelling. And I don't know if the guy's a milkman or an ice cream man, but what business does he have asking a giant rock monster what it's doing in the alley and telling him to get out of there? I think you deliver your milk and go back to your ice cream truck and get the heck out of there. You're seeing all kinds of crazies if you're making deliveries at 4 a.m.
I like to think it's a milkman.
I like the idea of an ice cream man because he's desperate for business if he's selling ice cream at that time of day.
But it would be good that it's a milkman who's just like the person who wrote this is just geriatric, and they'll be like, oh, and then the milkman comes by. See, they're like, listen, they haven't been delivering milk in like 30 years. They're like, the milkman comes by. Right, Jerry, Jesus.
And I think my last special note on the Thing is I do feel like he delivered his signature line at the perfect time. They didn't blow that. They didn't rush it. They didn't mess it up.
Well,
in any way.
He does say it like 7 times in the movie. I mean,
the first time he says it, though, it's like he broke it out and I was ready for it.
Yeah, it worked, and it didn't feel like it could have felt so clunkier than it did.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now,
we got saved from that.
Yeah.
Something that I don't recall from the comic book lore, and you guys correct me if you know otherwise, I never knew that if you say I love you to the Thing, he turns back into his human form.
Yeah, that was a no good one. That's like, it does kind of break the idea of the Thing, and that the great part of that is that he doesn't change back. It's like, no, you are stuck like this, and that is part of the hell that Ben Grimm has to live in now, is that, you know, he's got this exterior that doesn't match that interior.
There was like a comic book story that sort of parallels this, if I'm remembering it correctly. I think Reed finally cured Ben, but then Alicia Masters was kidnapped, and the only way he could rescue her was to go back and take his Ben Grimm powers again.
I think that's right. Yeah,
the cure only works once, so he had to choose between getting rid of his curse or having the woman.
But that's classic comic book, and honestly, I think that's good comic book writing, because that's what comic books were kind of meant to be. That thing of like, here's your moral question and all that kind of stuff. That's what Marvel specifically really excelled at.
And I guess they just told that same story in a very economic way. Instead of coming up with a cure, explaining the cure only works once, he just gets cured by saying I love you, but he has to choose to be the Beast in order to save the beauty.
It really is, though, awesome, though, like, just when you think about the story as a whole and everything, of how just awesome the Fantastic Four is from a writing perspective of what, you know, Stan Lee did with all of it and making the characters how they do, their interactions with them. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's something special. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, as I've said, but I watch this and it feels like we're riffing on a familiar theme and stuff like that, and it works. It works better. Surprisingly better than I remembered.
What did you guys think of the little nebbish? I don't know if I'm using that word properly, but I called him the little nebbish doctor that Dr. Doom has doing what I call sports physicals on the team when they get back from space.
With his little deal.
Yeah, and adding all the comedy because he's just freaking out about all their powers, you know. And
this was the kid moment right here. This is the part that was to entertain all the kids and to then, of course, exposition to flame on and all that kind of good stuff like that. And it works for what it is.
And what I also like is after he's done doing the sports physicals, Dr. Doom sends him to build a laser. And I just wrote in my notes, so the same doctor who was doing the sports physical also has to build a laser. Like, this is a tough boss. I
He's
use
like
a
the
laser.
veterinarian. He's got to do all the work.
Yeah, I use a laser every week at work, but if I had to build one, somebody's going blind because I am not going to be doing it right. I just love, why cast two people when you already got one? And Dr. Doom, once again, he's royalty. Granted, it's a small country, but he's royalty and he still can't get a laser guy and a sports physical guy. He has to have one guy do both.
I do like how they're just kind of like they whisk him away so fast to this country that no one's ever heard of and everything, and they're just like, those guys happen to be working at the right place at the right time, and just like, well, you happen to have two varying guys that were working the shift that night, and we'll take them to our special spot. Don't worry about it. Like, what?
I like how Dr. Doom's mansion, I guess, is built on the side of a cliff where it just has the most unusual weather pattern ever, where there's always lightning storms. Always. Whenever you see the exterior of his mansion on the cliffside, every single time there's lightning and thunder. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, it's not merely a mansion. That is a castle.
I won't live anywhere that's not in the evil district.
So I think another comparable movie, because I'm trying to in my mind stack this up. Is this so bad? What else was around in this genre at this time? I think another comparable movie from roughly the same time was that made-for-TV Justice League of America pilot that we watched, and we had to get it from like some backwoods Daily Motion video. Like you couldn't even find it on YouTube. I think this holds up favorably to that one, the one that had Major Winchester from MASH in it as the Martian Manhunter. What interesting casting there. I think this holds up pretty good to that, and that was something that...
What, Max Headroom in that one too?
Matt Frewer?
Yeah.
He was in Generation X.
Gen X. I forget. They all seem this. They're all the same damn thing to me, which is.
I think Gen X was a half star better than that JLA thing. That JLA thing was not
high bars. Everybody, high bars.
The thing that I relate this to most is the Captain America movie that was supposed to have a theatrical run, but they just ran out of money, so they put it direct to video.
The Matt Salinger.
It feels more like that style of movie to me.
And I think that Matt Salinger one was the Canon Pictures guys, right?
I believe so, yes.
Like whatever they did after Canon fell apart. But yeah, that's another good comp, but it feels a little slicker than this one, despite its problems, but this is a whole lot more fun.
I think this is a better movie than that movie because they keep using the same trope. They keep using the same excuse where like Captain America just keeps stealing people's car like over and over.
I forgot about that. You may be surprised, but I've only seen that movie twice.
Only twice.
Well, I saw it once, swore never to watch it again. Then we covered it for the podcast.
Other than that, like it wraps up. We've got our kind of end shot there. I think was one of the shots you remember seeing in Wizard magazine a million times, which was the long arm sticking out of the roof of the car as it's going down to the just married pile there, and it's just it's fun.
I feel like before we talk about that, what I'll call one of the most iconic endings in Hollywood history, the arm sticking out of the car, we do get treated to a couple of minutes of full flame on Johnny Storm animated flying around. And that was my favorite part of the movie the first time I watched it in 94. And I still like it a little bit now. It really feels like classic animation from 1982.
It looks good. It looks surprisingly decent for what we've got and what we're working with here and what they ultimately gave them to finish this thing with. Not too shabby.
It was a lot of fun. And I had wondered, from the minute I started watching this thing, what are they going to be doing about Johnny Storm? I just don't think they have the technology to make it look like he's on fire. And I pray to whoever's out there that they don't actually set the poor kid on fire, try to get a shot. But I didn't think of going just straight up animation, and they don't even Roger Rabbit it. You just get a nice animated sequence, and I'm a fan of.
Well, it's a
animation.
Previs. I mean, it's a previs animation. It feels like something that they were like, this is what we want it to look like, and then they just never made it look real.
Okay,
like it just looks like the pre-production stuff.
I wasn't familiar with that term previs, so now I think I understand what you're saying. Like that wasn't supposed to be the finished product, but
it
became the finished product.
It became the finished product is what I think happened there.
Because
like Lawnmower Man 2.
Right.
I liked it that they didn't give him what I call the the hot fries lines. You know what I'm talking about, Adam? How he normally, whenever they would animate, or if you watch the old Fantastic Four cartoons, he always has these lines up and down that for some reason are supposed to signal fire. Never made much sense to me. And to me, they made him kind of look like if you ever ate those Andy Cap hot fries, they kind of had those lines in them.
I would always sometimes like there'd be a thing where I would get like I would get him and Baron Zemo confused when I was little.
Oh yeah, because of the lines.
Because of the lines and stuff like that. I'm like, is that Baron Zemo or is that humans? What's going on there? Oh, okay, Baron Zemo, got it.
And you know, I like Dr. Doom's Freddy Krueger glove. It seems like a kind of a low-tech weapon for a guy like Doom, but it worked. It was a lot of fun. And then, you know, getting the wedding scene with the arm out of the sunroof, and I just want to picture the guy down there with like this arm on a little swing, swinging it back and forth. It's great how little effort and yet how much I just went with it for all of the stretchy effects on Reed here.
Man, I bet that guy who's shaking that arm, his shoulders at the end of the day, murdered. Just because it's so top heavy, just having to rip that back and forth, that's got to jack your shoulders like nobody's business.
And
I'd hope it is on a lever.
No,
yeah, I was thinking it's like
a
swing that you swing back and forth. But I also may have missed it, you know, seen the movie 3 times over a period of 30 years. But other than calling them collectively the Fantastic Four, I don't think they ever called them the Human Torch, the Thing, Invisible Girl, or Mr. Fantastic.
No, not a one of those, actually. That's interesting.
You'd think that would almost be like a prereq for first-time movie made in that time, is at the end you'd debut their names or something.
You feel like the doctor would, like, when he was giving them their whole thing or something like that, when he was giving the checkup, so to speak?
I felt like that's great fan service because no legit Fantastic Four fan that I know calls it by their superhero names very often at all, other than maybe the Thing. But I mean, it's always talking about Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, and Reed Richards. Sometimes I have to stop and remember what their names are. Like I have to pause for a minute.
Oh, Fireman, you know Fireman. He Fireman.
I've got an important question with this movie though. If you have no idea who the Fantastic Four are before you see this movie, do you understand this movie? Like, can you get all the way through this movie and go, oh, okay, I know everything that happened?
I think because of all of my previous Fantastic Four knowledge is the only, because you're right. I thought that while watching this today is like, I only know and can fit in all of these things. For example, him, you know, being, you know, the king of Latveria and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, they don't really talk about that. They don't really reference it. And unless you really know, you know, Fantastic Four, that's not going to make a lot of sense to you.
You know, I can't even put myself into the headspace. Like the Fantastic Four right there with Batman and Superman for people you learn about before you even develop your adult memory kind of thing. I wonder if there's anybody listening or maybe watching on the live stream or whatever that can say, I didn't know who the Fantastic Four were before I saw this and I followed it or didn't follow it. I can't even put myself in the shoes of not knowing the Fantastic Four at this point.
But I think it does happen. And at the same time too, think about this. Like when Iron Man first came out, when they were just like, hey, they're doing an Iron Man movie, there was a large portion of the public that was just like, that C-list character, that's an A-list character to folks like us. You know, because we're like, oh, we know how big of a character that is. But for everybody else, Iron Man was a C-list character.
Yeah, Fantastic Four is the first family of comics. They were always A-list. Iron Man went from C-list to A-list with time, but they debuted on top. Yeah,
but they had certainly waned by the 90s and everything.
I mean, the 90s killed the Fantastic Four, man. There's like hundreds of bad issues of the Fantastic Four. It wasn't until like the 2000s where somebody at Marvel was like, you know, this is a pretty important book for us. We should make it important again.
They were really solid to about 88. And then they just were the least extreme comic book characters out there. So they didn't fit the 90s. You couldn't picture like Reed Richards just goring somebody with blood everywhere and Sue Storm in a micro bikini made out of dragon scales or something. Yeah,
well, I mean, that's basically what they did to her, right? Like they made her like, they gave her like she had a black suit at one point and like she had spikes. Like it was just the worst.
My favorite was the Cleavage 4.
Yes.
in the middle. That was my favorite
Yes.
Sue Storm outfit.
And
right
for a
there.
while, the Thing had to wear like a helmet on his head for some reason. Like, why is the Thing like trying to mask his identity? He's the Thing.
Nobody sees.
I always like when either the Thing or the Ninja Turtles just put on a trench coat and like a cabbie driver hat, and nobody knows who they are, or like a fedora, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, and then when the hat comes off and people see him and the freak out and everything, it's so good. I love all
But
that.
that's
crap.
what makes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie good, man. Is that when the turtle comes running across the taxi, the hood of the taxi, and they're like, "What was that?" And the driver goes, "Oh, it looked like a turtle wearing a trench coat."
Yes.
Like it's nothing.
Toidle.
Right.
Yeah. And listen, the movies, it's way more fun than it should be, and we'll get into all the differences. By the way, I wanted to mention this. I at least like the Heroes Reborn run with Fantastic Four, just because it was Jim Lee. It's like my favorite artist doing my favorite, family of comic books and stuff like that. It was just retelling that story, and we'll get into the Silver Surfer stuff in a later episode. But I love that kind of stuff, and
I like the Council of Reed's Fantastic Four stuff the most, to me.
Oh yeah,
that was such a unique, cool idea. Is that Hickman? I think that's Hickman's run.
I think so.
There was a certain time when they really started to explore Franklin and his powers that I found the Fantastic Four really interesting, and I guess it is around the Heroes Reborn time.
Yeah, and then, but honestly, that's also the reason why we have to put Franklin in everything now all the time, because it's just like, because even with this movie, I don't know much about the new FF coming out, but there's already mentions of like a possible Franklin at some point, and I'm like, damn it, we're just kicking it into drive already. You must have a Franklin, and it's
Franklin is the perfect character for something that might need frequent recasting and rebooting. I mean, he just snaps his fingers and it happens.
Oh, he does his own rebooting there and everything. That's kind of a fun.
I mean, that's what he does. That's what Heroes Reborn is. All the
Yeah.
heroes died, and he brought them back to life.
Yeah,
That's what happens after Secret Wars. Is he rebuilded the universe?
But you're just saying we just do it with the cast now and everything, and when it's time for everybody to, it's retirement time. Guess what? Franklin just reset us all. Listen, it's kind of what they need to get into some sort of cohesiveness, I guess.
And he's the one.
I've got an idea. I've got an idea for the next month here, and it doesn't work for the first week because we've only seen the first one. But we should have a tier list of the Fantastic Four movies, and and the reason why I want to start it this week is because this is the best Fantastic Four movie we've seen this month. So this is the first. This is the best Fantastic Four movie.
You want to go rank like a ranking system?
Yes.
So we got
so every week we update it.
Yep.
I like that instead of hold them all for the end, because I really don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know. I feel pretty confident that the new one is finally going to be the good one. But I also felt that way when Trank made his, because I like Chronicle, and well, we know that missed the mark.
I knew the Trank thing was going to be a nightmare when the reshoots for that were as long as the actual shooting for that movie was.
There were I won't say lead actors, but prominent actors who said they never actually physically met Trank during their entire filming. That was also not a good sign. I heard that he was, well, rumors. I don't know if they're true or not, but what people were saying is they couldn't get him out of his trailer because the smoke would knock them on their feet every time they opened the door.
I don't know about that one. I do know that he put himself in a video village like that was locked off from everybody else, and nobody could get in and talk to him.
It's like he directed from a monitor through a microphone. Or
nobody saw him. He was just like, do that again. Terrible. But we'll get to all that. So since we're not looking at a major cast redo here or anything, what's the one thing that you feel like this movie could have used that we didn't have? My guess is just that little robot that every now and then has.
Oh, Herbie.
Little Herbie robot coming around just doing a little
well,
beep.
You know the story behind Herbie, right, Adam? Yeah. You know why Herbie exists in the first place?
I feel like I know. Refresh me.
So in the early 80s, they make a Fantastic Four cartoon. And in the cartoon, there's no human, there's no Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. because the people who were making the cartoon were afraid that kids were going to try to set themselves on fire to be Johnny. So instead, there is Herbie, the adorable robot. And over time, because, like when I'm 6 years old watching the Fantastic Four cartoon, I'm like, you know what I miss? I miss Herbie. And now, I'm a middle-aged man, and that, well, of course Herbie's going to be in the new movie because middle-aged men are making that movie, and middle-aged men want to see some goddamn Herbie.
And Johnny Storm has inspired 2 original characters from cartoons that made their way to comics. One is Herbie, and then the other one, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. It was originally going to be Spider-Man, Iceman, and Johnny Storm. But the people that didn't use Johnny Storm still had his rights. So that's when they invented that new character, Firestar, who's the female Johnny Storm, basically. And then she made her way to the comics and became a beloved character in her own right.
Yeah, this costume's called the Human Torch. It's basically a bunch of oily rags.
I like how the star of our show is creeping in slow, like a little bit more each time. Like, he's just getting more and more closer to your microphone.
Hey, when's my time to talk?
You need to set him up with the dummy mic, and then you climb under the desk with the real mic and do a little Triumph, the insult comic dog kind of thing with him.
Oh, I can't repeat the things that this dog says off the mic. No good for anybody. Well, let's get down to it. Bruce, what are you star rating here for the Fantastic Four from 1994?
We're not going to say who. We're not going to do the whole casting game because there's 4 of them.
There's too many people, and
yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is if instead of George Gaines, maybe they could have got George Papard. So I'll move on and say
13-year-old Elijah Wood as the Human Torch.
This is tough because the movie's not good, but it's charming. It's not one I would recommend to other people, but I would have fun watching it with other people. If you haven't seen this yet, which I think this is kind of like holiday special, it went to one of those things that almost nobody's seen. It's been covered so much, everybody's seen it now. But I want you to check it out, and it's charming. Go in expecting the worst and be surprised. So I'm going to give it like 3 1/4, like just enough to encourage you to go see it.
Nice. Sean?
Oh, yeah, it's 3 for me all day, man. Like, I think that the charm of this movie far eclipses the ineptitude of this movie. And like I said at the top of the show, it does keep surprising you in the ways that the movie is bad. It's not just one thing where you're just like, come on. I think with the Fantastic Four movie we're going to be seeing next week, it's all plot. Like, plot is the thing that kills that movie. It's terrible. But like this movie, it's plot, it's the acting. There's sets, there's props there. I mean, it's just over and over and over again, different ways that it's bad. And it is really a fun watch for that. And the amount of sweat equity that you can see the people who made this movie put into it to try to make a good movie is something you're not going to see. That no one will ever give anyone $1 million to make a movie like this ever again. That will never ever happen again. And that's what makes it great.
Some might say they weren't given $1 million to make it in 94, but that's that's up for debate.
Yeah, this is a 3-star. It's not great, but it's serviceable enough for what it is. And that recommendation comes in with, like you said, the idea of this is what they had. This is the movie that should have never been, and the fact that it's put together and at a form ultimately that is as good as it is kind of shocking, because it wasn't meant to see the light of day. This was supposed to be a bullcrap project and everything, and the fact that we have a full ass movie at the end of it, fairly impressive, and that it's as decent as it is. You can't ask for too much more with that, man. I mean, if this were, like you said, if this were a giant studio picture or something like that, then you'd have real problems with it. But for a low budget Corman thing that was never meant to see the light of day, damn, they do half a bad job.
Best throwaway movie I've ever seen.
I do like the Doom in like in the Latveria where he's like a little tiny and all the big kind of bull crap around that's just painted in, and we kind of animated the little lights fire and stuff like that. It looks so corny and cheap, but it's just like they were trying, dude. They really honest to God tried with this thing, and you got to be impressed with the willingness to kind of just go, hey man, we ain't got much, but we're gonna do it as we can. So can't blame them. Awesome.
My recasting Jeffrey Combs as Dr. Doom.
Honestly, Jeffrey Combs probably could do a Reed Richards, to be honest, because he is like he's a brainy dude. Like, I mean, you can take the character from what you call it there, Reanimator, and put him into a Reed Richards role. That makes sense.
But the problem is that he's not a heroic person. Like the thing that he exudes is, like a little bit of sleazebag.
Yeah.
And that's great. He's great at that. But like, I that's why I couldn't see him as Reed Richards.
And on a more superficial level, Reed Richards needs to be at least a little bit lanky. And there's just nothing lanky about him. That's one thing that gives me caution with Pedro Pascal is he's not really lanky. And I always like my Reeds lanky. But, you know, you give a good enough performance, you forget all about that.
It's going to be the least of our problems. Anyways, that will do it for this episode of HMP, everybody. We're going to keep on this Fantastic Four train with next week. We are going to a different land. We're traveling forward. I forget how many years. I didn't do the math, but we're going all the way to 2007 to talk about the second Tim Story Fantastic Four movie, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. We figure, hey, since we're doing some more Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie, we might as well jump that first one and get to one so we can kind of have at least a little something, a little A-B comparison as far as surfers goes, because I believe we're going quite different in this new Fantastic Four movie. We'll see how that works out for us. Who's excited?
Oh, definitely.
See, well, pins and needles. We all are.
This is that's the one. Like I of all of the Fantastic Four movies, because this one really surprised me this week. With like I was like, oh, I actually like this for what it is. I'm certain that's not going to happen with next week's Fantastic Four. It's the only one where it's like there is no question that I'm not going to like it. I already know.
You think you got a chance to like the Trank one more?
Yes.
I think that Rise of the Silver Surfer has at least one amazing sequence. So I'll see if that's enough to bail it out. I don't remember it very well. I just remember the Johnny Storm Silver Surfer chase scene.
I like Dusty Galactus. That's just me, though. That is it. Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Hey, I'm still repping Naughty Hookers here. KNOTTY, Naughty Hooker Stitch Society. Find them on Facebook right now. They'll be everywhere soon. This beanie, it's a Naughty Hookers handmade beanie. And it's my own fashion line. It's Bruce's Slouchy Beanie with the Leslie Slouchy Beanie to come later this summer. Check it out. Naughty Hookers, KNOTTY, Hookers Stitch Society on Facebook.
Hey, Sean. Did you have Bruce, hold on. Did you have Bruce having his own clothing line on your 2025 bingo card? Because I did.
I definitely didn't. And I will say, of all the things I've ever seen Bruce wear, it's the first thing I've ever seen him wearing where I'm like, oh, that was cool.
It does. It does kind of make him look cooler than you would suspect Bruce would ever look, doesn't it? You're not wrong.
Thanks, guys. I seriously, I appreciate that.
Okay, now plug.
It's just our YouTube channel. Just go to the YouTube channel.
Check out YouTube, man. We got a whole bunch of videos up there. I got unboxings and stuff coming down the way and more fun reviews. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what we're doing over there on YouTube. So like, subscribe, do all that kind of good stuff. And join us here next week for our Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer from 2007. For Sweet Sean's Go Back from the Internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress reminding you to get out there and watch the movies, you dirty babies. That's the wrong button.